Some ancient structures leave us in awe. Others awaken our curiosity, yet there are places that compel us to pause. Not because of their beauty, but because their very existence is a paradox. They were built where nothing should have been built, upon sheer cliffs, across vast oceans, deep beneath the earth, or within forests that never ceased their advance. They stand in conditions that, by all logic, should not allow them to endure. And yet, they did not vanish. They remain, standing firm through centuries, even millennia, as though time itself had passed over them, without ever truly touching them. What follows are 10 ancient structures, remnants that defy every limit, and even now, remain beyond any complete explanation. On the eastern coast of Spain, in what is now the city of Tarragona, a Roman amphitheater still rests here, facing the Mediterranean Sea, as though it had never truly left its own time. Built in the late 2nd century after Christ, during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, or shortly thereafter, this structure once stood as a center of entertainment in the ancient Roman city of Tarraco, one of the most important urban centers of the empire on the Iberian Peninsula. The amphitheater measures approximately 109 meters in length and 86 meters in width, capable of holding between 14,000 and 15,000 spectators, a vast number for its time. Yet what is most remarkable is not its scale, but the way it was built. One portion of the structure was carved directly into the coastal rock, while the rest was assembled from massive stone blocks, placed at the very edge of the sea, without any protective barrier. No seawalls, no reinforced foundations, only stone, and the calculations of human hands nearly 2,000 years ago. Across the centuries, its purpose may have changed, its role may have faded, but one thing has remained constant. It endures. The true wonder lies not in what it once was, but in the fact that it still stands today. Exposed to the sea, battered by salt-laden winds capable of eroding even stone, having endured earthquakes, wars, invasions, and the fall of an empire, only to persist for centuries more in silence and neglect. Each wave, a slow act of erosion. Each gust of wind, a quiet force of destruction. By every measure of logic, this structure should have collapsed long ago. And yet, it has not disappeared. Part of it still stands, still holding the form of a Roman amphitheater, as though time has done everything except erase it. Hidden deep within the human forests of Veracruz, Mexico, where nature spreads without restraint, erasing the traces of human presence, a pyramid has stood for more than 1,000 years. Constructed around the 6th century after Christ by the civilization of El Tajin, this structure rises approximately 20 meters high, composed of 7 stepped levels. Most striking of all are its 365 precisely carved niches, a number that mirrors the days of the year. This is not merely architecture. It is a system of time, carved in stone. Yet, unlike many ancient structures set in arid lands, El Tajin endures within a tropical forest, where humidity lingers year-round, where roots force their way into every crevice, and where rain and living organisms steadily wear down all that stands. For centuries after its abandonment, the site was almost entirely consumed by the jungle, only to be rediscovered in the late 18th century. By every expectation, a stone structure in such an environment should have crumbled, warped, or at the very least lost its original precision. And yet, something remarkable remains. The geometry of the pyramid still holds its balance. The niches remain distinct, untouched by the passage of time, as though it is not humanity resisting nature, but nature itself. unable to erase the mark left behind. In the western Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Pohnpei, in the Federated States of Micronesia, an ancient city still lies there, spreading across the water like a labyrinth of stone. Built between the 12th and 15th centuries, Nan Madol consists of nearly 100 artificial islets covering an area of about 30 hectares, set within a lagoon and encircled by coral reefs. So much that it is often called the Venice of the Pacific. Yet instead of brick or timber, the entire city was constructed from massive basalt stones, many weighing between 5 and 25 tons, stacked in interlocking layers like timber beams, forming walls that rise from 5 to nearly 8 meters in height. There were no wheels, no metal tools, no modern lifting systems, and most striking of all, no roads for transport. These stones were brought from locations tens of kilometers away, across open water, and assembled with astonishing precision. Even today, there is no definitive explanation for how this was achieved. This place was once the center of a civilization, yet what remains is not its power, but the structure itself. Over the centuries, it has faced saltwater, tides, ocean storms, and the relentless advance of vegetation. It should have been toppled, swept away, or sunk beneath the sea long ago, and yet Nan Madol endures. Its stone walls still stand there, rising from the water, almost unchanged. In 2016, Nan Madol was officially recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a testament that it still exists, in defiance of all expectation. As though this city does not merely challenge the past, but quietly endures against the future itself. Along the Nile River in southern Egypt, an ancient temple once stood in stillness upon the Isle of Philae, where the waters rise and fall with each passing flood. Built around the 3rd century before Christ under the reign of Ptolemy Philadelphus II, and expanded over the centuries that followed, the Temple of Philae became one of the most important centers of worship dedicated to the goddess Isis in ancient Egypt. Within its walls lie long corridors covered in reliefs, towering columns, carved with divine figures, where light filters through narrow openings and touches surfaces that have endured for thousands of years. It is a space not merely constructed, but made to exist alongside time itself. And yet, for decades, this entire structure was nearly submerged beneath the water. After the first Aswan Dam was built in 1902, the waters of the Nile rose, leaving the temple flooded for most of the year, revealing only fragments when the water receded. For more than 60 years, its stone walls endured constant exposure to water, silt, and moisture, forces capable of weakening and destroying even the strongest structures over time. A stone monument, submerged almost year-round, by all understanding should have eroded, collapsed, or lost its form entirely. But it did not. Its core structures remained intact, its carvings still visible, as though it had endured long enough to be found again. In the 1960s, as a part of an international campaign led by UNESCO, the entire temple was dismantled and relocated to the nearby island of Ajilkia, above the rising waters, in order to preserve it. Yet what is most remarkable is not that it was saved, but that it survived long enough to be saved at all. A structure once submerged for decades, still standing, until the modern world was ready to recognize its value. The jungles of Guatemala do not merely grow, they erase. Roots tear through stone, humidity corrodes every surface, and the dense canopy spreads until it covers entire cities. And Tikal vanished from the world. Founded around the 4th century before Christ and reaching its height between 200 and 900 after Christ, Tikal was once among the greatest cities of the Maya, with an estimated population of 50,000 to 100,000 people. Towering pyramids, vast stone palaces, and a powerful urban center rose from the heart of the rainforest. Then, between the 9th and 10th centuries, everything began to collapse. Prolonged drought, relentless warfare, deforestation, and a growing food crisis slowly fractured a system that had once thrived. By around the year 1000, the city was abandoned, and the jungle began to reclaim what had once belonged to humanity. For more than 1,000 years, nature advanced without resistance. Structures were buried, roads disappeared, and the entire city was swallowed beneath a dense green canopy until it was rediscovered in 1848. Yet amid all that was erased, one structure still rises. Temple IV, standing approximately 65 meters tall and built in the year 741 after Christ, remains one of the tallest monuments of the Maya world. From the ground, it is almost entirely hidden, but from above, it pierces through the jungle, rising beyond ancient trees and reaching into the light. In an environment designed to erase all traces of human presence, a stone structure has preserved its form, its height, and its balance. Not pulled down, not fully consumed, as though it does not belong to the earth, but was made to rise above it. Long before the pyramids, before even the dawn of agriculture, humanity had already raised a monumental complex of stone. Set upon a hill in southeastern Turkey, Gobekli Tepe was constructed around 9600 before Christ, more than 11,000 years ago. At that time, humans were still hunter-gatherers. There were no cities, no writing, no recorded systems of complex organization. And yet, here they erected vast circular enclosures, formed by towering T-shaped pillars, each standing 5 to 6 meters tall and weighing between 10 and 20 tons. Some of the central pillars are even larger, carved with striking depictions of animals, lions, serpents, birds, and wild cattle, rendered with a level of detail that suggests not primitive markings, but deliberate artistry. The entire site consists of multiple stone circles, built in successive phases over thousands of years. To this day, archaeologists estimate that only about 5% of the site has been excavated, meaning that the vast majority still lies hidden beneath the earth. Yet, what makes Gobekli Tepe most difficult to comprehend is not its scale, but the time in which it was built. How could people without agriculture organize hundreds of individuals to work together? How did they transport stones weighing tens of tons without wheels or metal tools? And perhaps most importantly, why was such a place created at all? Some theories suggest that sites like Gobekli Tepe may have driven the development of agriculture itself, rather than the other way around. And then, around 8000 before Christ, the entire complex was deliberately buried, not destroyed, not abandoned, but carefully covered as though someone intended for it to disappear. A structure that does not belong to its time, built before humanity was believed capable of such achievement, and still standing after more than 11,000 years. Built upon a vast stone platform in the plains of Iran, Persepolis was not merely a city, but the ceremonial heart of an empire. Construction began around 518 before Christ, under the reign of Darius I, a place where tributaries from across the Persian Empire gathered to offer tribute, symbolizing power and control that stretched across thousands of kilometers. The entire complex stood upon an artificial terrace covering more than 125,000 square meters, elevated above the land, like a stage designed for authority itself. At its center rose the Great Hall of Apadana, once supported by 72 towering columns nearly 20 meters high, alongside the Gate of All Nations, where delegations passed through, immortalized in intricate carvings along stone stairways that still endure to this day. This was not merely architecture, but a story carved into stone. Yet in 330 before Christ, the armies of Alexander the Great arrived and set the city ablaze. Fire consumed the palaces, wooden roofs collapsed, and an empire came to its end. A city destroyed by fire should have turned to ash, yet Persepolis did not vanish. Its stone foundations remain, its stairways still stand, and its reliefs and cuneiform inscriptions continue to tell the story of a world more than 2,500 years ago. Many of its columns still rise, as though they had never witnessed the fall of an empire. In 1979, Persepolis was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, yet its true significance lies not in its title, but in the fact that it still endures. As though power itself may fade, but its imprint never truly disappears. A massive rock, rising nearly 200 meters above the plains of Sri Lanka, and upon its summit, not a fortress, but a palace. Sigiriya, also known as the Lion Rock, was built around the year 477 after Christ under the reign of King Kashyapa I, transforming this nearly inaccessible height into a complete center of life. It was not merely a refuge, but a capital in the sky. Leading to its summit is a system of nearly 1,200 steps winding along sheer rock faces, passing through a colossal lion-shaped gateway, of which today only the immense stone paws remain. Along the ascent, ancient frescoes line the walls, once covering the rock face with images of celestial maidens, painted more than 1,500 years ago, their colors still visible to this day. Yet the most astonishing feature lies at the summit itself, an area of approximately 1.5 hectares, carefully planned into a royal complex with pools, gardens, and an advanced water management system. At the base of the rock, symmetrical gardens and ancient hydraulic systems still function during the rainy season, even today. A structure at such a height required the transport of materials, water, and the sustaining of life atop an isolated stone mass, without machinery, without modern technology. By every understanding of ancient construction, such a place should never have existed as a fully functioning living space. And yet, Sigiriya remains, a palace in the sky, a system created not merely to stand, but to allow human life in a place never meant for it. As though, in that moment, humanity reached a height far beyond its own limits. Today, Sigiriya has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1982, not only as an architectural achievement, but as proof that humanity once accomplished what seemed impossible. It does not rest upon the ground, nor does it crown a mountain peak, but instead lies within the face of a cliff, hidden beneath overhanging sandstone ledges, in a place almost unreachable from the outside, as though the landscape itself was chosen to conceal it from the world. Located in the state of Colorado in the United States, Mesa Verde was built by the ancestral Pueblo people between the 12th and 13th centuries, comprising more than 600 cliff dwellings and thousands of other structures across the region. The most remarkable of these is Cliff Palace, the largest complex with approximately 150 rooms and more than 20 kivas, ceremonial chambers carved into the stone. To reach it requires climbing sheer rock walls, gripping narrow footholds, or ascending wooden ladders. There were no clear transport routes, no modern tools, and yet they carried stone and timber upward, piece by piece, constructing an entire community within the cliff. Homes, living spaces, and a functional social system suspended in stone. But what is most astonishing is not only how it was built, but how it has endured. Sheltered by natural rock overhangs, the structures were protected from direct rain, strong winds, and constant erosion, even though they were made primarily of sandstone, earth mortar, and wood, materials never meant to last for centuries. After more than 700 years, many of these structures remain nearly intact. The city was abandoned in the late 13th century, then lay silent for centuries before being rediscovered in the 19th century, as though it was never meant to be seen, but to remain hidden. And it is that very concealment that allowed it to endure through time. Stones cut with a precision that seems almost impossible, from perfect right angles to flat surfaces marked by sharp, clean edges, as though shaped by modern machines. And yet they are thousands of years old. Situated at an altitude of approximately 3,850 meters in the Andes near Lake Titicaca, this site was constructed around 536 to 600 after Christ, belonging to the Tiwanaku civilization. This is no small structure. The entire platform extends across more than 167 by 116 meters, where massive stone blocks, some weighing up to 131 tons, have been placed with astonishing accuracy. But what is even more difficult to comprehend is how they arrived here, transported from quarries tens of kilometers away, some even across water, in an age without any supporting technology. No wheels, no powerful draft animals, no metal tools strong enough to shape such stone. Only stone and human effort. These blocks were not merely placed side by side. They were joined together as part of a system, interlocking with grooves, joints, and cuts so precise they align to within millimeters. Some surfaces are so smooth that even a thin blade can scarcely pass between them. Archaeologists suggest that the Tiwanaku people employed grinding techniques, geometric measurement, and coordinated labor to create this site. Yet to this day, no one has been able to fully reproduce these methods. And then, the construction stopped. Unfinished. Stone blocks lie scattered as though the work was abandoned mid-creation. No blueprints, no written record, only stone and silence. A structure built with a precision far beyond its time, standing at an altitude where even today, construction remains a challenge, leaving behind a question that has never been answered. From coastlines to jungles, from sheer cliffs to the highest lands humanity has ever reached, these structures do not merely exist. They endure in places where they should not. We have seen them worn by the sea, consumed by forests, burned by fire, and abandoned for thousands of years. And still, they remain, not as simple ruins, but as questions. Each one is a boundary broken, a moment where the impossible once became real. And perhaps the most unsettling truth is not how long they have survived, but how they were created in an age that was never meant to achieve such things. Perhaps the mystery does not lie in the past, but within ourselves, that we have yet to truly understand what humanity was once capable of. And if such things were possible before, then another question emerges. How many more remain, waiting to be discovered? These mysteries do not end here, and the journey of discovery continues.